the personality that these people could bring to like an agency like this is, can bring some real cool cats.
And then there's so many brands in the US and Canada combined. You would just like have a North American dominion on like all the Santa material.
So I hope that made sense, and I hope that my first viral ideas podcast is a good idea.
You know that, Sam. I feel like that was a Mona Lisa.
It's the Viral Ideas Podcast with Josh and Runda.
Hey everybody, welcome back again to the Viral Ideas Podcast. I'm Runda, back at it again as your co-host, and I'm here with Josh.
Hey guys, thanks for coming in again. Today we've got Sam with us. What's up, Sam?
Hey guys, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being invited onto a podcast. I feel like as someone who like has a podcast of their own, I'm always on your side of it right now. So it's cool to know that I'm on the answering side now as opposed to the host side. So it's really cool to be
name of your podcast.
Oh yeah, my main podcast is Birdcore, which I must admit has been radio silent as of late. But Birdcore is my main podcast, and then I have another podcast that's even more radio silent, called Another Football Show. I guess I'm not really selling them, but those are my podcasts that some history in.
I was actually, I think I was the inaugural guest on the Birdcore.
Yeah.
Well, with the other boys.
Yeah, of course. Well, no, just the Josh Buxton episode.
I literally didn't know that there were cameras in the room at all. Like, I didn't even see them. I didn't realize that it would come out like that. But then I saw it and I was just like, wow, I really just look like I'm in like the Charlemagne studio right now. Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's start getting the ideas going. I wanted to open up with one here. I actually have a visual inspiration right in front of me. 1 second. Okay, so basically, a month or so ago, Runda and I were at a trade show together, a very random trade show. It was called FabTech. It was for basically the welding and fabrication industry. And this man approached us in a parking lot and invited us to just visit their 3D printing studio. So we went to visit them, and it was a pretty cool place. They did 3D printing stuff, and it was interesting. And something that they just sort of gave us as a party favor was these things. There is just a
Dorito?
Yeah, it's 3D printed, but whatever, it's not real. So it kind of made me think like, hey, this would be a really interesting angle for business cards. But obviously it's kind of a lot to drop on a business card for the average person. I mean, if you're in some really intense sales, like maybe it makes sense to drop like probably $100 or something is the minimum to get something like that printed. But if you wanted to do it as one of the founders cards type things where you tap it on someone's phone and then your contact gets attached to that. So basically the idea is to just turn this into a founders card that is boutiqueified. So essentially, I'm just going to walk through the process of exactly how you would do this. So number one, find a supplier that specializes in the 3D printing and probably scanning as well. And then because we're trying to stay lean, just go to Thingiverse and find some free 3D assets. But, just make it something interesting. I mean, this is a great prompt. A Dorito. A Dorito would make a great business card. So start there and run with that. So go to the supplier, and once you've chosen like maybe 5 assets, ask them to print each one of them. they'll probably bundle together the pricing, so it probably wouldn't be that bad. I think it's something that the average person can afford to do, for anybody who's hesitant out there. And then from there, once you have these in hand, just start creating content with them, as much as you can, so that you can, do some A/B testing and figure out what's working and where the interest is. And then past that point, if you find interest in a particular one of these, then that's where you create your online e-commerce side and do a limited drop. And that's where you can really have a lot of fun with the branding and stuff, because I think it's the type of idea that is really meant to be sort of a boutique thing, where maybe you're making like you're only making 25 Doritos, for example. You could sort of follow the same angle as like the Mischief boots, the type of stuff that they do, where it's like an art studio, just signaling quality and boutique, and at the end of the day, just being memeable and inherently viral. But yeah, I sort of thought of that as just a general framework for basically a new type of cross between like a boutique art studio and a business card store, I guess.
In terms of the absurdity of the amount of things that you can make a business card, because like Dorito is one example, and then another one could be like a pack of gum is actually a business card. How absurd do you think you can get while still being able to actually give those to people? You know what I mean? Like, could you make like a I don't know, like a speaker, like a lamp business card? You know what I mean? Like how much do you think you can expand out of that realistically in terms of absurdity, and people would be like, oh my God, this guy gave me this business card, look at that. But also like easily accessible to like pull out of your pocket kind of thing. What do you guys think would be some of the more absurd examples of business cards that can be done with this? Most memorable, I guess. Like this Dorito is memorable. What else do you think?
I think that the idea is based off of 3D printing from the beginning, because that is the most low budget choice that has a really low barrier to entry, that like pretty much anybody could do it. I think that you could get like really extreme with it, actually directly playing on like the Mischief boots. Well, we should probably put a picture of that up in the final edit as well, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about. You can custom make basically any type of shoe. So the angle that I would take is just a business card shoe that like you can wear. Like it's just a pair of shoes that are like probably really bizarre looking, or somehow striking in some way. I think that's what I would do. Also, just to get like a pair of shoes out of it.
They're pretty brilliant shoes. Fancy, isn't it?
I remember like with a bunch of these BuzzFeed article websites, there used to be, I mean, if you Google this now, you could probably find a bunch. Google search creative business cards, inspirations, or something like that. There's just like a whole list of these. I think like if you become like the creative boutique of like business card creation studio, like I remember some of these business cards are like an edible pasta business card for an Italian restaurant, or like a stretch rubber business card for like a gym, or like a personal trainer's information, where it's just like, oh yeah, if you have like the strength to stretch this rubber, you're able to, get qualified to call this personal trainer. So there's like a whole slew of these like creative business cards that some of them literally win creative awards from. I mean, if you position yourself in the marketplace as like the most creative business card design studio, there might be a market for it, where in the B2B market, where someone that really needs to generate the PR for it, can actually try to at least purchase your services for, I don't know, for a package of like at a absurd premium, probably at $5,000, to give you an idea of interesting business card and just like give you like a certain quantity of these. And then in terms of like social content, I can just like think of so many interesting kind of social content as an agency and just like service these creative business cards out of TikToks. And then you can literally make a UGC TikTok page on just like someone handing you a edible pasta or lasagna business card going like, oh yeah, what is this? And then I remember like there's like interesting stories like that, but then there's also bizarre business card stories where I'm not sure if like it's still circling around in the advertising industry, but one time there was a local creative in Toronto trying to advertise their portfolio as a junior creative intern. So what they did, I don't remember exactly what they were saying in that message, but they showed up with a microwave with their portfolio website written on top of it. And then maybe it means like, oh, he'll get you instant baked ideas just like as fast as you get from your lunch break or something. But he didn't get hired. But yeah, some people just like come up with like weird thoughts. It can't be like totally weird. It needs to be like these feasible kind of intentful creative business cards. But yeah, if you sell to a Walmart or a Costco, just like Doritos chips or something, you can literally 3D print that chip. I'm going like, oh yeah, this is what the chip feels like. And then by the way, on the chip, it's like got my snacks dealer or distribution dealer information on top of it. So that's like an interesting way to just like advertise your snacks company.
Yeah, it has the B2C and the B2B angle where, you know, you can charge high prices to consumers because you'll make it boutique and nice and, you know, quality. And then, you know, on the other side, it's just something that in the business world just will rely on it. So the high value clients will just come straight knocking on your door and saying, hey, how much does it cost for you to make me one? I don't know what I want though. So here's $5,000. Can you please figure this out for me? So yeah, it's a good sort of maybe like 3-person type business that could actually pay the bills for some people.
I think just like 10 minutes into this call, it's cool to see how business oriented you guys are. B2B, B2C. It's like these are outside of my world. Kind of obviously I understand them, but it's funny to hear all the business side of things and thinking business oriented. So I'm here to learn.
I love it. Well, Sam, I mean, we want to hear your ideas too. We're basically right around the time where we should move on to a new idea. What do you have cooking up? Like, what's going on?
Okay, well, so seeing as someone, I'll give you a basic breakdown. My title at work, I'm a content creator. So a lot of my
where do
job,
you work?
I work for the Kitchen, North America. It's the in-house agency for craft house. So I'm a content creator there. And essentially my job, kind of the umbrella term as content creator is I just need to know what's trending in social media. I need to act on it quickly to make sure that we're making contents that our brand is like keeping up in trends and staying reactive and also like proactive, like bigger campaigns and whatnot. But a lot of what I need to do is make sure I'm on top of socials. So my ideas coming into this are related to social content. So the one that I have is like for TikTok or Instagram kind of videos is to remake very popular sketches or movie scenes. And this is something that I've actually been meaning to do, but like very popular movie scenes, like, you know, there's like in The Great Gatsby when Gatsby, like his cheers, like that, like scenes that everybody remembers and like you can recognize, just like very recognizable scenes and sketches, recreating those for social platforms, but not like kind of just getting the whole like premise of the scene, but like literally scene by scene, like take by take. So social media has made it so easy for people to make videos and just go viral like overnight like that. Every day there's like a new influencer. So the only problem is that because there are so many influencers making their own content, it's hard to like stand out in a sense. Especially when you like need to get established, trying to get from the ground up. That's something that I had struggled with, something that like some of my friends who are trying to be content creators, influencers are struggling with. So a lot of times people don't necessarily care about what a stranger is making. And I've noticed this trend a few years ago was if you're making stuff that is already recognizable, it becomes a trend. Like there was a trend a while back where it was quick, like movie cut scenes that people were recreating, like kind of just the lines and a little bit of the action as well. And they were like quick snippets and the trend just blew up. And I think like, for Instagram and for TikTok, that's really good to make the short stuff. Obviously that stuff is going to do really well. But I think there's also an appeal for like longer form content eventually to make its way to TikTok and Instagram. A lot of my friends are making campaigns for their clothing or, putting full blown shorts on Instagram. So I think there is an appeal for that longer form content to be on there. And I think that this is a way to kind of make your mark and enter that seed a bit, is to recreate things that have already been done, but perfecting it in a sense. Like, the scene, the sketch from SNL where it's like need more cowbell. It's that Will Ferrell scene.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, like something that people remember, if you recreate that, and I mean like get in the studio and like have the drums there and have the cowbell and stuff like that will get noticed. Like, oh my God, they recreated that SNL sketch. And then, once you kind of have a good chunk of videos under your belt, and I've seen this with a lot of creators, it'll start to get like celebrity attention. And some celebrities like will want to be a part of those videos. There's one guy on TikTok, his name is Johnny Valentine, and his format for his videos are the same. Every single video is the exact same thing he does. But now he's like, like King Batch from Vine, like one of the most recognizable Viners. Now he's in some of these videos. And like other like Viners who used to be in the spotlight are coming into these videos. So like once someone gains traction, there is the appetite for people who used to like be in the spotlight, like King Bash and like Vine people, to kind of come and want to be back in it. And that's why I've noticed with this guy on TikTok. But there are so many ways you can like establish yourself on socials and start to like make a name for yourself. But one thing that personally I think would do very well is if you can like recreate these scenes that are already highly popularized, but just like do it like the exact same way kind of thing. So I hope that made sense, and I hope that my first viral ideas podcast is a good idea.
That, Sam. I feel like that was a Mona Lisa.
Dude,
that was a Mona Lisa idea. The just the idea of the infinite possibilities with applying this idea to different audiences and different creators, because you could also go pretty crazy with like just the types of creators that are doing this adds to it, because like the meme potential is insane when you consider like just juxtaposition and what crazy things can happen there. I feel like juxtaposition of movies and reality is probably what drives like 60% of memes on the internet. Well, yeah, I like that. And also just the idea of there being a trend on the internet of just reproducing movies scene for scene, gradually, but just like you're just like guys, like next scene drops maybe like next week or something like that. And then and just gradually do it. So then it's the type of thing that one person could just start doing, like just start making the content. Pick a movie that you could sort of just make yourself with your own phone and just sort of reenact it scene by scene until you get to the very end of it. And by the end of it, I wonder how many followers you will have. It would probably be a lot more than you started out with.
Yeah. People would like respect, like a lot of one thing I've noticed on socials is people respect the dedication that someone has to their content. Like I don't think people realize how much these creators are like posting. Like a lot of creators are posting 2-3 times a day, every day. And some people actually realize that and they have like a certain amount of respect for that creator and automatically just follow because of that and then stay invested.
Yeah, true.
You know, so man, imagine, like part 95 of recreating Inception from scratch. Like you'll have some people stick around, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to the people that think this entire content style is just like copying it, I would just like ask them, why are cover artists a thing? If like they're just like saying the same song from like another artist, like why don't you just like listen to the original artist? And you're like, no, you're respecting the fact that like this other indie musician, they're taking the effort into like creating their version, but like still using the craft that's like dedicated into it in that art form. But like this is just like the cover artist version of like sketch movie scenes remakes on in terms of like content creation. And you guys remember those like Dragon Ball Z or like Naruto abridged anime series on YouTube where it's just like someone else dubs themselves on like what their interpretation of the scene is? Like totally that's like unrelated to the story. It's like a whole YouTube series. It was like Dragon Ball abridged, and then it was just like funny with like kind of dirty humor, but then like they made it entertaining where like these scenes are just like dubbed over with their interpretations of like, oh yeah, and then my mama said, no, don't go after him, Naruto. Just like stuff like that. To a level, they're copying that content, but like they're creating their new iteration of that original content, but like they're remixing it, which is like in itself another type of craft or like an entertaining craft. There's been like other movies. I think like the movie 300, there was like a couple parody movies that came out of the movie theaters after that I remember watching. And it's just like interesting that it's like a whole entire behavior that happens where it's just like, this isn't that different.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking like parody movies, that's one of my favorite genres of movie is parody movies. So I want to touch on something that Justin in previous episode was that like, the impact that nostalgia has and how like nostalgia sells basically. So like you look at parody movies, it's like a way of showing love to, you know, whatever. Like you look at the Scary Movie series, they're making fun of, you know, horror movies and whatnot, but very like recognizable horror movies that people love. It's almost like a sign of appreciation in that sense. And like tapping into that nostalgia feel of it as well, you know, because I find you rewatch movies and sometimes you almost hope that it's going to be different in a sense, but you know exactly what's going to happen. It's not going to be different at all, you know, but then like looking at those parody movies is like a funny take on that and stuff. So yeah, I didn't have a conclusion. That was it.
Imagine just something like a deep movie, you know, something intense, like I don't know, Shawshank Redemption or Interstellar, but it's just all reenacted by like Jimmy Tatro and his crew. You know, I think anybody would watch that. I would have to see it. I would honestly probably watch anybody do a reenactment of it. Like if someone really did take the time to piece by piece put together Shawshank Redemption or Interstellar or whatever like one of those movies are for you. I think that if it's not something that if I don't find out about it initially, when I do find out about it, I would definitely be following it, especially just seeing the prompt of, you know, this continual engine of I am making this movie piece by piece until it's finished. But yeah, that's a great idea, Sam. I think we can move on to the next one. Runda, what what do you have that that you want to share today?
All right. So I guess in the theme of UGC content, I started to think a little bit more deeper into like the business portion of this entire industry. So in today's business of these UGC sponsorships, the current structure is currently where these content creators are represented by an agency or listed on a larger creator marketplace for brands and businesses to just search up and then brief them on the promotional campaign content. And these brand style content or partnerships and collaborations in this marketplace. So to a level, these brands are actually trying to find the creators, which for a marketing manager or a social media manager to actually find is actually pretty time consuming. And sometimes these brands are actually just engaging with these creators via DMs and or just the contact emails to find their management. But then I thought, wait, you could potentially turn this entire behavior on its head on going, instead of these brands searching for these creators, let's just have the creators search for these branded partnerships or sponsorships to a level that one of these platforms, #paid, has this feature, but their feature is more kind of like giving you like a short brief, but then the creator still has to go through these type form fill outs where they have to go through a selection process. But then I noticed that there's a behavior in advertising industry competition markets where a few organizations have created these competition type of briefs where brands are submitting these briefs for these competitions in real cases of like these business problems to places like DNAD New Blood or One Show Young Ones or the National Advertising Challenge locally. These competitions are essentially like a creative bounty system where these brands are submitting their brand challenges for creatives to claim the problem or like find a solution for an interesting campaign. So what if there's like the UGC version of that where creators can just like submit now? So when they see I'm going to brand these branded bounties and creators, the whole context is brands list out these branded collaborations in the form of like these partnership opportunities and branded bounties. And creators, all they have to do is just like submit their video. Just like take out the entire type form fill out and then just like have all these creators, whether if it's like on a platform or like a gated system, to just like submit their video immediately. And then once the brand gets like a certain threshold of like all these videos submitted, they just like pay out to the ones that they select to publish. And I feel like that entire system will just like remove 90% of the wasted time that's being used currently in the search selection process for these social media managers or social strategists or marketing managers to essentially kind of shop around the marketplace. Let's just like stop wasting time on shopping within the marketplace and just have contents to select and then pay it out to the partners that you're going to work with. And then you can even like make it into a PR stunt initially when you launch this platform, like the contest for the biggest brand bounty, where sometimes you see these branded campaigns for the world's best job. And then it turns out to be like for Australia tourism, where the job is paying $150,000 a year to watch an island, to take care of an Australian island or something. But then in this case, it's like, oh yeah, just like how absurd you can take this payout for a branded bounty, which you can make like $100,000 bounty for the platform for someone to just like potentially submit a 1 minute long talking head video. And then the brand can just like heavily advertise the contest instead, and then just try to promote that behavior for all these creators to submit to their branded bounties. And then in the end, select one 1 minute video of a random creator doing a talking head a phone in their bedroom or something, the whole like PR you can generate with that, it's gonna go national. Where all the major like Globe and Mail or like local news will just be like, oh yeah, they will essentially advertise for you with the press releases, going like, oh yeah, you want to win $100,000 by just submitting a phone recorded video that's 1 minute long. Any takers?
So when do we start? So the first time, it's almost like, is it in a sense, it's like these brands are posting what is kind of like a job application almost, right? And then your resume, that quote unquote, is essentially your video that would be that content based on the brief pretty much that they're posting, right?
Yeah. So in this case, it's like taking poker chip bets. So the brands are essentially setting up like the betting table, and then you're kind of like getting all these creators that are placing their bets to potentially win. And then eventually there will be a winner. At the end of the day, someone will get selected for a payout for that branded content. It's just that it makes the search selection process just like more streamlined and then just like simpler instead. Write out exactly what you need from a brand's perspective. If you're like a decent brief writer, this entire market will award a well-written brief instead of like just people wasting hours just finding the perfect creator.
Yeah, and like cold DMing and whatnot.
Yeah, it sounds like an idea that would not only, well, number one, save brands and agencies money, but it would actually just really allow for a more democratic approach to the whole process of finding the best creators for the right products. If anyone, then they'll have an equal chance of getting picked as the same person that may have more followers than them, or maybe just has a more connected talent rep or something like that. Just taking all of that out of the picture and just letting people submit to these brands if they're so passionate about these brands that they are willing to just make something with their own time for free. That's great. I don't know if anyone has heard of it, but 99 Designs. It sounds like a really similar idea. On that website, it's all for graphic design though. Doesn't cover video, but it's essentially called 99 Designs because you put out a call and then you'll very quickly get 99 versions of that design, and then you'll be able to pick one of them and then pay that person. And it's usually the type of thing where you're paying them like $200. So in the world of agency pricing for this type of thing, that really kind of just shows that this is a validated sort of a validated thing that has been done for other services that companies need to get content for their socials. So I think that's an awesome idea, and I love the inherent virality of it because you'll be building an army of video creators, and you'll have this insane bank of every. I mean, that actually culling through all of the terrible videos that you would be getting would be a challenge. But if you can, and you can, find those
AI
gems yourself.
You get AI to filter out the horribly formatted videos.
Yeah, that's the upsell. That's that's for once
That's
you
the
get
enterprise
once you start getting.
plan.
Yeah, that's your enterprise plan. After you have your first round of funding and you're like, okay, we've got to get our cash flow going here. Well, yeah, somebody should definitely do that one, because that would just, I think that honestly might just be like a good thing for the world to have, because there's so many people out there that I know that could be wicked UGC creators, but they just don't really like fully know the avenues of how to, get connected with the right people that will actually get you the gigs to be making the videos that are going to be going out on these brands' accounts.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, is like being able to, like, if you're a really good video creator, but you don't have the like skills to, like you said, get those connections. Like that's why, a lot of people are so multifaceted these days and like wear so many hats. And, I know people who are their own like managers and their own agents and whatnot, because the more skills you have in this day and age, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Well, that idea was sick. We could either Sam, if you have like a sort of another longer form idea that you want to go through it right now. But if not, we can sort of just bounce through some smaller micro ideas and just use the last 10 minutes of the pod for that. And I actually had an idea that I wanted to bring up that I think it kind of connects to things that both of you guys were already saying. So you'll find this interesting. So I was looking at this this website that's called Gummy Search, and it basically just indexes what subreddits are trending. And one of the top trending subreddits, if you categorize only by smaller subreddits, it's this one that's called Ask Old People Advice. It's grown by like 600% in the last year. It has like 30,000 members. So it kind of made me think like, all right, so there's this sort of content machine that is kind of already existing on Reddit for this specific topic. And a very common method for making TikTok channels go is just repurposing Reddit content, of course. So, that's not necessarily what I'm talking about here, but the idea is to create content that is, getting someone who is elderly on camera and having them just, give advice for somebody who may have sent in an anonymous question or something like that. And, build this TikTok around that. But while you're building this TikTok, while you're building this audience of just people that are interested in getting advice from old people, and as you're doing that, you're going to naturally be looking for old people to be in your videos. So in doing that, while that's all happening, build a talent agency that specializes in UGC from elderly people, essentially, and focus only on that niche. And the way that you get your name out there essentially is all driven by this TikTok, or you could also expand it to different avenues like YouTube. I'm sure it would do well there, but sort of base it all around this media that you're creating with the people that you're representing in this talent agency, because you don't really just want to start up an agency that's just called like the Old People Agency,
OPA.
It just doesn't look good. Like, how are you going to find talent and say, hey, yeah, I'm here. I'd like to recruit you into the Old People Agency.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's just not dirt. It's dirty. I don't think that's like what we want to do here. So that's why I would suggest building a brand around it and centering it around this media that's all getting created and validating your claim as an agency, which is that, working with old creators gives you an actual edge depending on what it is that you're trying to sell. It sort of connects, especially to yours, Sam. Well, immediately I just started thinking like, wow, imagine the movies that you could have being recreated by a bunch of talent that you have that are like 70 plus.
Yeah. Yeah, like recreating Spy Kids with 70-year-olds or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. The spike is that, yeah, it's perfect. Anything. It doesn't matter. People will eat that up.
Yeah.
So
There's also something so funny about old people, like just innately. You know what I mean? And like not in like a not in a rude way, but like my little sister, she's 16 years old and she goes and visits this like old like woman like weekly at this like old folks home because she's just so like she's just fascinated by this woman, her stories, and the concept itself of like just an old folks home where all these people, all the lives that they've lived, and like the stories they have, and like
yeah,
the personality that these people could bring to like an agency like this is can bring some real cool cats.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's obviously this deep, meaningful approach, but then there's also infinite memeability. Obviously, all of that combined together, I think, could create another similar to the weird business card store idea. It's another business that I think maybe a small, like a couple people are running this company that's very lean and could probably make quite a bit of money from the content alone once you're tapping into things like the creator fund and stuff like that, if the content is doing well. And even if it isn't, the content is really all just a pipeline for your UGC agency anyways. So I feel like there's no way to lose on that one. Runda, what do you think of this idea? Like, do you have a roast for it or anything?
I think it's like the most easiest avenue is just like get the seasonal stuff out of the way. Like every brand now can own a Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus,
Yeah,
and
true.
just like even with like elder creators, I feel like to marketers they might not even understand exactly like what's the most applicable thing. Where like if I were to just like start this thing initially, now I'm just like thinking, yeah, maybe Santa Claus is the simple thing, the easiest low hanging fruit to go to market with this idea. You just provide Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus to every brand digitally to have like every brand have a Santa takeover. And then there's so many brands in the US and Canada combined. You would just like have a North American dominion on like all the Santa material and just to initially capture that market. But then when like any of these older creators they get like traction somehow in their Santa in their local market, then you kind of like stream into like, oh yeah, the sage advice, or maybe there's like a health guru kind of senior that's like in a space, or like the elder creator that's interested in coin collection or their China collection, and just like go from there. Something like this for brands initially to get traction, they just need that like simple get to understand. Oh yeah, this is the thing we need immediately, and then you upsell from there.
Yeah, thinking about Santa Claus content now.
I another sort of like end avenue that you could take with this that just sort of that I feel like I could just connect to this. I work with some restaurants for their social media, and something that I've actually always wanted to do with I don't know which is the right client to test this on. So, if that's you listening to this podcast, hit me up. But but basically, I think it would be really cool to assign a creator, and again, like an elder creator, to be the brand face of a restaurant for their social media. I'm talking about doing that on like a multi-year contract where, maybe you sort of, go through an actual recruitment process and take it pretty seriously, and then sign on with them for maybe like 3 or 5 years, something like that. And you just generate a bunch of content with them and use them sort of as the face of a restaurant. It's an industry that relies so much on having not only a brand story, but also a personality that is directly attached to it. Some restaurants are able to do that by having like a really personable owner, or maybe they're hiring promoters. There's many ways to use personality to bring people into places, but I think that just assigning an elder model to be the face of a restaurant and just sort of position it as if they're the owner without saying that they're not the owner, and making them this character that maybe even physically shows up at the restaurant. I think that would be such a cool thing to try out, that like it's not something that you need to be a big restaurant or have a huge budget to do something like that. You could probably pull something like that off with a shoestring budget or with no budget. You would just need to you obviously would need to recruit someone that's really good. So that's where the cost may come up, or it may not. It just depends on how lucky you are, I guess.
You know what's one thing that's super crazy that I can totally think of that a B2B market might use this? So I went into this like one webinar. It's this one webinar that I think it was like the Bain Consulting Group that was pushing out this like annual research that they do. Within this webinar, the rest of the Bain people, the consulting group people, look like just like normal consulting guys. They look like someone that worked in finance with your like Patagonia vest and everything. One guy that was like presenting this material, I swear to God, this guy looked like the world's most interesting man from Dos Equis. His entire background and like this, he looked like a character. With this, it could have been staged. I was just like, is this the actual guy, or like, am I seeing the real person that's doing it? I mean, like, this could have been a paid actor.
Yeah, there's so many people out there in the wild that you just want to go up to and just say like, hey, can I just film a video of you right now?
Yeah. Yeah. In a sense, like looking different stands out, and this day and age stands out in such a good way. Like because there are so many influencers and content creators who I find it feels like a lot of their like shtick is the same as the next. So, being different, like you saying, Runda, like this guy standing out, like looking so different from the rest, like it clearly makes an impact. You know what I mean? And then having like Josh for a restaurant, having like an old person like be like the face of it. That's so something that you might not expect this day and age, when everybody who's the face of something is, mid-20s and in perfect shape and so beautiful, and you know what I mean? Like, so being able to be different in this day and age, I think is crucial and like so important. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I think it's the type of thing that slowly it will just naturally shift in this direction as more people just become tech literate, and also as tech literate people get older, we will naturally have more old people on the internet, and understanding all of these things. But I think that right now there's that opportunity to accelerate it and, go out to make it worthwhile to go out there and put something like this together, because there's probably an opportunity to make money and go viral, which is what we're all about here at this podcast.
Yes. This podcast is a viral idea. When I first heard about
one day, maybe.
No, guys, like when I first heard about your podcast, I'm like, okay, this isn't two guys who are coming and just, chatting it up. Like there's a lot of purpose to this podcast, and I respect that a lot. And that's why, like, I really appreciate you guys asking me to come on, especially as one of your early guests. Like, so, but it stuck out to me when I first heard about it. So kudos to you guys for thinking outside the box.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks.
Yeah. Let's just hope that we don't have to sue anyone over any of these ideas that we come up with.
Yeah. Yeah,
Otherwise,
these
we will sue
ideas.
people.
Yeah,
You
these
guys,
ideas aren't free. You have
yeah,
to
and
call us first.
you guys might be getting sued by Alabama because Josh, you look like a football coach right now with your Alabama shirt on. Like,
Yeah,
dude, they're gonna be like, why isn't this guy at training camp?
yeah. I have to wear all the hats. You know, I have to let the Alabama fans know that I see them. Okay, guys. I'm gonna. Okay, yeah. Let's wrap up the podcast. And yeah, so before we go, does anybody want to review like what was maybe the best idea that we went through today? Like Sam, you're the guest, so
Oh,
be
wow.
like be the judge. Like it if there's one on the list that you think that someone should just go out there and like actually do, uh what would that be?
Oh my God, no pressure, eh?
No pressure.
Well, I'm trying to think of like, in terms of like ease and accessibility, like, I really like the 3D printing business card idea. And then I'm thinking to myself, how many people, because people have such a hard time being willing to spend money, even if it's just like you said, like the average person could afford to do this kind of thing. But it's sometimes difficult for them to
500
justify. Yeah. Wait, yeah. No, you said 100.
Well, yeah. I mean, like it's the type of idea that like it's like a $500 like business.
Okay.
Pretty cheap in terms of starting businesses, if you ask me.
Okay. See, I told you I'm business illiterate. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But people have an easier time justifying spending $500 on like a few pairs of shoes than they would on something that could actually help them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But these are all great ideas. You guys are really smart, and it's kind of intimidating. I like
Well,
this. What's that?
You're Sam. You're smart yourself because I was gonna say that your idea was I was gonna say that your idea gonna be mine because I feel like literally anybody could like go do that. Like I honestly now I just want to think like yeah now I'm just I mean that idea is actually genius. Even if this podcast only gets like 100 listens, I think someone like still is crazy if they don't go out there and try that because that's just like seems like a guaranteed approach to go viral. And when you see how huge these creator funds have gotten on all of these platforms, because now it's just an arms race where you've got TikTok. They're spitting out 200 million US dollars per year just at their general creator fund, and then all of the other platforms are throwing in similar amounts themselves. It's the type of idea that like even if you don't build up that much of an audience, if you are just gathering viewership with it, you could legit just like make money off of one of those channels there. I love that one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I said that before, it's something that I've been meaning to do as well, like recreating this kind of stuff. So it's good to know. It's a good idea. Thank you.
It's a unity. It would be a unity of all of your just like work and education experience, eh? Just like all of the YouTube and the film and the TikTok, everything combined. Online, it's a lot tougher, I find. That's the one thing that I don't know how to like get around, but yeah, we usually just like find a way to cut it together in the end that it doesn't sound super janky.
Yeah, it's all in the editing, my friend. I will pick my idea though. I've done a lot of thinking and reflecting in the last 4 minutes, and the one that just stands out to me the most, and you helped me a little bit. When you said 500 is not that much for business, for starting up a business. So I would have to say the 3D printing card one. Like, and even the picture you have in here of Brendan Fraser signing what looks like what's that called? What like the seashell? What's that called?
It's a conch shell.
Yes,
Yeah.
like the conch.
Yeah,
There's the
the,
con-
w-
yeah,
we
yeah,
got
yeah.
we got to remember to put this image up. So for audio listeners, this is an image of Brendan Fraser he was on the red carpet at TIFF, I think,
Yeah.
and someone just walked up to him with this insane looking conch shell that had like a realistic human teeth, mouth, and tongue just like coming out of the opening. And apparently he refused to sign it because he was so disgusted by it. And yeah, so there's just an article about this online if you want to look it up. It's a crazy photo. But yeah, make a business card out of that. That's the best. That's the best one right there.
Yeah.
If you're asking about what would be the most exclusive and most important drop of all of these business cards, it would be that thing, whatever it is.
Imagine giving those out at like a seminar. You have like 30 of them, and you're carrying on a huge bag just full of them.
Yeah, that'd be so weird.
But they remember you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, boys. Well, Sam, thank you again for coming on to the Viral Ideas podcast. Before we end things, is there anything you want to plug using your last little bit of airtime?
Wow. Well, first of all, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate you guys thinking of me in the first place, especially for a topic like this. Like it means a lot to know that I'm doing something right with content. So thank you. What should I plug? Well, this is all making me want to start my podcast up again. So I guess plug in my podcast, Birdcore Show on Instagram. And now I gotta find more guests to get on the pod. Now I gotta start the pod back up. But yeah, that's it. That's I just want to just plug me. Just plug me. Go follow me.
Shout out Sam Bird. Everyone follow Sam on Instagram or LinkedIn, whichever he prefers.
I better gain
follow him
6,000
in
followers.
real life. Just
Yeah.
all band together and find his daily routines, and then just like follow everywhere he goes.
Unless if he tells you to stop. In that case, it's stalking.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
So don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Sam, thank you again for coming on. And thank you to everyone for listening. And yeah, make sure you're subscribing or following wherever you're listening. That's the call to action from us.
And tell other people to listen in too. If you find value in all these episodes, then like, why are you gatekeeping this? Like, how is this podcast free? Like, send it to other people.
Like you're probably not gonna do these ideas. Send it to someone who will. Who knows?
Yeah.